After the mind-blowing, lore-heavy reveal from chapters 1 and 2 of Death and Rebirth revolving around Silas and MC, the last 2 chapters of this main story update hit us like a fucking truck. We got even more lore, even more crucial information and truths that shift the entire narrative, but most of all, pain.
It's why I chose to leave without saying goodbye.
Before we dive deeper, the usual disclaimer. I'm not here to tell you how to think or how you should interpret this story. I'm just sharing my perspective and understanding. If you disagree, that's perfectly fine. We all have our own interpretations. In this video, I try my best to cover things that I think are important, but of course, I'm bound to miss something since I'm just one single brain. So feel free to have a discussion down in the comments, share your thoughts and your theories, because I read every single one. This video is part 2 and likely the final segment of this series, covering the last 2 chapters of Death and Rebirth, primarily revolving around Zayne, Dawnbreaker, Astra, and Ever. Okay, so before we get into the real meat and potatoes of these final chapters, let's quickly recap to clearly set the context. The public is now aware of a new type of anomalous wanderers roaming around. We, as players, have seen them way before this update, back in long-awaited Revelry in the N109 zone and in Homecoming Wings at Skyhaven. And now they appear in Lincoln, where MC resides. And finally, we have a name for them, Alterum. These wanderers, these Alterums, are deeply connected to Ever and their recently announced project, the Fountain of Ate. So this project is described as the next step in human evolution, and it's heavily reliant in protocore technology. It was originally inspired by a signal from deep space sent by a civilization pursuing immortality. This update revealed Ever's concrete step toward creating beings like MC, an immortal existence beyond the natural cycle of life and death. MC has also learned the true nature of her existence, that she was essentially created or summoned in the lab of the Gaia Research Center. The puzzle pieces finally fit together. We now understand why she's immortal, why her consciousness is fragmented across timelines in the multiverse, and how she's inherently part of the cosmos and deeply connected to the deep space tunnel. She now knows clearly that she does not belong in this world. And we got a huge reveal confirming that this is something that Zayne himself said to her when they were kids, when he lost control of his evil and nearly killed her. Well, technically it's not really him, but we'll get to that later. First, let's unpack the main thing that got the ball rolling in these 2 chapters. Why exactly did Zayne decide to join the dark side by participating in the Fountain of Ate project? This decision set everything into motion. This pivotal choice sparked a cascade of revelations, from Zayne's frequent possessions to his connection to the divine, to the quiet guilt and crushing responsibility he's carried for years. So the reason Zayne joined the Fountain of Ate project was because the technology at the core of their first step, the Rebirth Cocoon, was built directly from his research, originally a project he started with Carter back when they were still in med school at Skyhaven University in 2040. This is discussed in World Underneath 1 and 2. If you want more context, definitely do check that out. And no, I have not made a video dissecting World Underneath 1 to 10, but it's coming, I promise. This research was super important to Zayne because he didn't just casually work on this, he threw himself completely into it. He missed important exams and he risked his career before it had even started. This research focused on the application of protocore energy in interventional cardiology procedures, was never about recognition or success. For Zayne, it was personal. It was about curing MC's heart. If you didn't already know, the medical path Zayne chose wasn't just influenced by having parents who were doctors. MC herself shaped his decision profoundly. We've seen hints about this in World Underneath 1 and 2 and his anecdotes, but this update finally digs deeper into that motivation. At the height of his research, Zayne discovered something horrifying. The heart he experimented on began sprouting black crystals, the exact crystallization that he'd seen once before, during the Battle of Mount Eternal. He had seen this same corruption take his mentor and friend, William. By the way, just for timeline clarity, the research that would later become X Heart started in 2040, as revealed in World Underneath 1. Zayne is currently 27 years old, and the current year he's in is in 2048. The Battle of Mount Eternal occurred shortly before his X Heart research, meaning that Zayne was around 18 or 19 at the time. I don't care what anyone says, 18 19? That is a freaking child. Legally, you're an adult, but this? When you're at that age, this is still baby. He was so young when he was forced to do the unthinkable. No wonder the man is disturbed. He was 18 or 19 when he had to kill William, his senior, his mentor, his friend, ending his life to spare him from becoming a wanderer. And that trauma, the image of crystals slowly consuming someone he deeply cared about, never really left him. During his research, he's faced again with a nightmare that haunted him for years. Zayne knew he couldn't allow it to repeat. And driven by a reverence for life that never faded, even after facing death up close almost daily as a doctor, and bound by the Hippocratic oath he took when he was still a med student, he made the choice to destroy his research. He buried this nightmare with his own hands, hoping no one would ever dig it up and repeat the tragedy at Mount Eternal. And here's the thing about Zayne. He's not against helping people live longer or healthier lives, but he draws a hard line at tampering with death itself. He sees death as necessary, a boundary that gives life its meaning. To him, real humanity lies in respecting those boundaries. Zayne is deeply philosophical, painfully ethical, and quietly terrified of what happens when ambition tramples morality. He doesn't fear death, he fears what humanity becomes if it tries to outrun it. If you want to put it casually, Zayne's philosophy is simple. Life and death are supposed to exist together. They balance each other out. He's not against medicine saving lives, but he draws the line at controlling death itself. In his eyes, chasing immortality at any cost doesn't make us gods, it makes us monsters. But Carter did not share Zayne's convictions. Without hesitation, Carter stole Zayne's research, took it to Xander Sciences, which is a branch of Ever, and branded it X Heart. And now, 8 years later, Zayne's buried past returns like a ghost to haunt him. His research, twisted and misused, has become the cornerstone of Ever's Fountain of Vitae. And just as protocore syndrome cases are surging and patients began exhibiting alarming new symptoms, Ever conveniently steps in with their so-called miracle solution, which is the Rebirth Cocoon. And leading this initiative are two absolute scum of the earth, Carter and Benedict. They are not even subtle about exploiting human desperation, as Benedict coldly puts it.
The key to obedience isn't promising heaven, it's using hell as a threat. After all, everyone fears illness and death.
These men talk about human lives like numbers on a spreadsheet, utterly devoid of compassion and empathy. Patients are reduced to mere statistics, and they're gambling on slim chances because they're desperate. Ever is dangling false hope wrapped in the shiny packaging of scientific progress, ruthlessly preying on the vulnerable. And the worst part? It's working because people are desperate. When MC and Zayne infiltrate this horrific project, pretending to be participants so they could shut it down from the inside, they end up facing Benedict, who is a successful product of the Rebirth Cocoon himself. And that confrontation, again, pretty much confirms what Ever's real goal is. They're trying to replicate beings like MC. And when you pair it with the name of this organization, Eternity Vanquishes Evolution Restraint, it all starts to make sense in a sinister way. Their name suggests they want to destroy the natural limits of human life. Aging, death, disease, and force humanity to evolve beyond nature's slow process. It lines up perfectly with what they showed MC and Zayne when they first arrived at Val Sanatorium, the booklet listing diseases that conventional medicine has yet to cure. They don't want to wait for nature to take its course. They want to hack it, override it, and call it evolution, even if it means turning people into monsters. But here's what really gets me. They witnessed firsthand what protocore tech does to a human heart. They saw the transformation. Regardless of whether the experiment was a success or not, it always ended the same way. Humans turning into literal monsters. And I want to know, what was going through the heads of the people who approved of this? Did they really look at that and think, yup, that's it. That's the next step. This is the peak of human evolution. And I gotta say, this main story update really did a good job making me hate these two doctors and portraying them as the scum of the earth that they are, especially this dumbass Carter, who doesn't even deserve to be called a doctor, by the way, because he did not even get his doctorate degree. He stole someone else's work, and not only did he steal it, he couldn't even do it right. 8 long years since he stole Zayne's research and he still failed. And that's why they had to agree to get Zayne, the original creator of X Heart, to come back and help, because these two goofs are not smart enough to figure it out on their own. And that's why the Alterum started showing up in Lincoln, because these two dumb asses just let their failed experiments run loose. They fumbled hard on a biohazard project, more than once, by the way, and their solution is just to set it free. Dude, forget evolving humanity. They need to evolve their basic common sense for this, because why would you? That's so fucking stupid. Also, Benedict, every time he opens his mouth, he keeps saying things like he's trying to get a reaction out of Zayne. I hate him so much, and it turns out he was the one behind the protocore anomaly at Mount Eternal 8 years ago. He is the one responsible for William's death, and technically, he's responsible for Zayne's trauma. So even before Zayne started his research into applying protocore energy to the human heart, Ever had already been messing around with it, and failed spectacularly. Whatever the hell they did in that area, they left behind a protofield so corrupted it started turning people into wanderers. Basically, Ever is just out here leaving traces of their failed experiments like it's a fucking landfill. The one in the N109 zone, the one in Skyhaven, in Mount Eternal, and now in Lincoln. Except instead of trash, it's humans. Humans that have turned into wanderers. And these wanderers, these Alterums, they're the reason we finally get to see Dawnbreaker Zayne. Or is it though? Is it actually Dawnbreaker? Before we get to this Dawnbreaker, I want to bring up something really important that is connected to that, which is the Fractal Library. So just a quick disclaimer before we dive in, the game is still really vague about Dawnbreaker, Zayne's nightmares, and his connection to the divine. They're only giving us breadcrumbs and sneak peeks. Definitely not the full picture yet, because obviously it's not time for us to know yet. So this whole section is just my understanding of the story and how I see things. If your understanding clashes with mine, you don't have to agree with me, and honestly, I could be completely wrong. Okay, so let's lay out the facts clearly first, so we're all on the same page. The Fractal Library isn't really a library in a traditional sense. This place holds the fate of every universe. This place is first introduced in World Underneath 12, and this update expanded on what this place actually is significantly. Based on how it's described, standing at the intersection of dimensions, not existing in any galaxy, and belonging to no civilization, to me, that means the Fractal Library isn't just rare, there's only one across the entire multiverse. And it is positioned at the crossroads where multiple realities converge, a neutral ground detached from the natural laws of any single universe. It's fundamentally untouchable by civilizations or beings bound by time, space, or even death. It's not anchored in any galaxy or physical location. It's non-local, something you can't reach with a spaceship or a map. Instead, it's closer to a metaphysical node, a bridge between realities rather than a place in a traditional sense. And it wasn't built by any civilization, not by humans, not by aliens, and not by anything mortal. It simply is. It's pre-civilization, maybe even pre-life, a piece of cosmic infrastructure that's always existed. The Fractal Library isn't just a place, it's an anchor point of fate across all realities. Bigger than the destiny of just one universe. It's the keeper of everything. Originally, in my World Underneath 11 to 18 video, I theorized the atheist mentioned by the temporary admin of the Fractal Library, the true owner of the Fractal Library, was MC. That's who I thought it was, and I was wrong. And now it's confirmed that the atheist is actually Zayne, specifically main timeline Zayne, and Zayne is ordained by Astra as the emissary of the divine. Also, if you've watched that video, I'm still convinced that the temporary admin is another version of Zayne, because who else would order 100% sugar latte? But the game didn't expand into who that temporary admin was. We don't know who that is. But anyway, main timeline Zayne first encountered the Fractal Library 7 years ago in Lincoln. Based on how it's described, the Fractal Library seems like a place that can spawn anywhere. It's not fixed to one location. Because back in the first chapter of Absurdity Unfolds, the boy who accidentally summoned it in the Arctic mentioned he messed up the incantation, which again suggests the library can manifest wherever. The Fractal Library isn't just important because of what it is, it's important because of who it's tied to. It directly connects to main timeline Zayne's larger narrative and role in the multiverse. So here's a consistent pattern we've seen across multiple Zayne incarnations. He's always chosen by a divine force or a higher power to serve as some kind of master of fate or keeper of records of some sort. In every incarnation, he faces a tragic destiny tied directly to MC. In Master of Fate, Zayne is tasked by the heavens to destroy MC because she's considered a variable. In Tower of Secrets, Zayne's powers, drawn directly from Astra, the Creatio Protocol, is draining away MC's life. We even get to see the other existences that Zayne has had with MC. In the Jasmine book thing, he's destined to watch her die again and again. But in every single case, based on the myths that we can see so far, he refuses to follow through. He always rebels, choosing to save or spare MC instead of following the order from the divine entity he serves. This rebellion pattern repeats clearly in our main timeline too. When Zayne was forced by an external power to hurt MC as a child, he resisted as much as he could by pushing her away, trying desperately to protect her from himself. And he moved away without saying goodbye. But then even moving away wasn't enough. Driven by overwhelming guilt and a relentless desire to save her, he committed himself to becoming a doctor. Sure, his parents were doctors too, and that might have influenced his decision, but this wasn't just about family expectations, it was about her, it was personal. It was a small rebellion against a fate he probably wasn't even fully aware of, but instinctively refused to accept. He wanted to fix the damage he caused, heal her, and protect her. So based on all of the information that we have so far, there is something very special about our main timeline Zayne, and he's different from all the other Zaynes. And I want to break down exactly why I think so. So let's talk about the temporary admin first. So in World Underneath 12, he mentioned that he was called by an unseen force, which is most likely Astra, and from the way it's described, it seems like it's a call that is impossible to refuse. But main timeline Zayne, that's not the case for him. He delayed it. When that same force, Astra, the one who ordained him to become the divine emissary, he just said, nah, I'm busy. Check back in 7 years, maybe I'll change my mind. And it's not like he didn't go in there. He literally stepped into the Fractal Library, took one look around, and walked right back out. That is huge. It shows that unlike the other Zaynes, this Zayne has an unusual level of autonomy, a freedom to walk away, even from something that's supposed to be absolute like a god. Another important detail, the temporary admin explicitly refers to the true owner of the library as an atheist. But this is something that's only mentioned in World Underneath 12. It's not brought up in the main story chapters, and honestly, this is an important detail. Everybody who cares about the lore should be reading the World Underneath entries, because it is crucial to understanding the deeper world building. But anyways, the atheist, that's not just a throwaway word. This is super important because it means the library, something you'd expect to belong to a god or divine authority, is meant for someone who doesn't believe in gods or higher powers at all. This sets main timeline Zayne apart from his other counterparts, like Foreseer Zayne and Master of Fate Zayne, who were tightly bound to places, roles, and divine commands. Foreseer Zayne, for example, is literally tortured if he tries to leave his tower. But main timeline Zayne, he's not bound. And the Fractal Library also isn't fixed to a place either. It can manifest anywhere, untethered, just like him. So why does this matter for Astra? This is just my interpretation, but I think it's because the Fractal Library doesn't just hold the fate of individual people, it holds the fate of entire universes across the multiverse. And main timeline Zayne isn't just capable of managing individual destinies like his other counterparts, he's managing the fate of worlds. Unlike Foreseer Zayne or Master of Fate Zayne, bound by divine orders, this Zayne, labeled by the admin as an atheist, does not submit to any god or higher power. And doesn't that sound like a threat for a god? As the true owner of the library, Zayne holds a huge amount of power, the ability to oversee and potentially reshape the destinies of all realities. So my current theory is Astra cannot fully control main timeline Zayne. He can maybe influence some things, but he can't fully control him. And I think these nightmares, this erosion of Zayne's autonomy, are Astra's way of trying to break him or force him into submission. Because if Zayne fully accepts his role, fully takes ownership of the Fractal Library as an atheist, as someone who doesn't believe in gods or a higher power, Astra, a god, loses direct control over the fate of the multiverse itself. And remember, there's only one Fractal Library. Controlling it means controlling the fate of everything. Now let's talk about the boy who came to Zayne to remind him of the promise he made, to become the divine emissary. So we don't know much about him yet, but we know that this boy, along with Zayne, is supposed to be the true admin of the Fractal Library. The boy is shown wearing what looks like a tangzhuang based on the glimpse we get of his profile. More importantly, he's accompanied by a strange white furry creature he calls Shiqi, later revealed to be a Bai Ze, and this is where things get really interesting. The game actually takes the time to explain what a Bai Ze is, and that's not a detail you should overlook. This is something that actually exists in ancient Chinese mythology. Bai Ze is known for its incredible wisdom. It knows all supernatural creatures, disasters, and cosmic phenomena. In the Bai Ze Tu, or Book of Bai Ze, this mythical creature meets the Yellow Emperor, a semi-divine figure, and helps reveal the secrets of thousands of supernatural beings and dangers to help protect humanity. But Bai Ze is not a warrior. Bai Ze is selective about whom it shares its knowledge with. Usually only emperors or beings of immense authority. Most importantly, Bai Ze doesn't serve out of loyalty. It follows knowledge and cosmic authority, not individuals. This isn't just some pet. This is a divine beast. It chooses who it serves. Now, I think you know where I'm going with this. When Shiqi went off on his own to find Zayne, that was not random. To me, that whole thing, the way I see it, means that this divine beast is recognizing Zayne as cosmically significant, not just a human, and not just an atheist. And this ties back to what I said in my previous video. I think the game is nudging us to realize that potentially all the love interests, their origins are at the same level of importance as MC. Lost oasis. Cosmic beings, higher dimensional beings, gods, whatever you want to call it. The existence of this divine beast and the fact that it chooses to help Zayne supports this idea. It tells us that Zayne isn't just a non-believer, he is someone or something even ancient cosmic forces like Bai Ze recognize and acknowledge. The atheist title might technically describe Zayne's belief that he doesn't acknowledge gods, but I think the reality of what he is goes way beyond that. Zayne might stand outside the authority of gods entirely. To put it super clearly, calling him an atheist describes what Zayne believes, that no gods, no higher powers, no divine authorities govern his life or his choices. He believes in himself, free will, in forging meaning without relying on something greater. But there's still so many unanswered questions. Yes, Shiqi's recognition shows that Zayne is cosmically significant, and he might exist outside the reach of ordinary gods, standing at a level where even beings like Bai Ze acknowledge him. But if that's true, it opens up bigger, scarier questions. Like, what exactly does Astra want with him? We've seen Astra bind him, manipulate him, even torture him in Tower of Secrets. And if this Zayne is this important, if an important creature, a divine beast, seeks him out, what is Astra trying to accomplish? Is Astra trying to force Zayne into submission because controlling Zayne could mean controlling fate itself? Maybe. We don't know. And why is Zayne's consciousness fragmented across timelines, just like MC, just like Silas, and pretty much everyone else, except for one person? Have you noticed? We've only ever seen one incarnation of him. He's the only one who hasn't died. It's the same existence across his anecdotes and his myths. But who knows? Maybe his next myth will finally change that. Maybe we'll see Xavier in another timeline that isn't the current Xavier. Well, that's a topic for another video. And what is Zayne, really? We still don't know. The temporary admin calls him an atheist, but the way Bai Ze reacts makes it clear that Zayne isn't just a non-believer. He is definitely something more, and if he's the true owner of the place that holds the fate of everything, then whatever he is, it's something huge. Okay, let's go into Dawnbreaker now, and let's talk about the connection between Main Timeline Zayne and Dawnbreaker Zayne first. So, Dawnbreaker Zayne and Main Timeline Zayne are connected through dreams. It's implied that they started peeking into each other's universes around the age of 12, and that was when Main Timeline Zayne almost killed MC when they were kids. Ever since then, Zayne's been haunted by nightmares, visions of the Grim Reaper, and the apocalyptic world that figure resides in. These nightmares have followed him his whole life, from his childhood to the Battle of Mount Eternal just before he was forced to kill William, and even later when he received his award. And alongside these visions of a collapsing world, a world eerily similar to Dawnbreaker's universe, he also dreams about something much more personal, not being able to save MC. And one of these dreams is showcased in this 4-star card. So according to Zayne, these nightmares became even more frequent after the events of Chancia City, the incident that happened in Prologue to Tomorrow, where they were trapped inside a Wanderer's proto-field. In that proto-field, the Wanderer manipulated Zayne's dreams, and Zayne explains that what they're seeing in that proto-field wasn't a new nightmare. It was the same one he's always had. A nightmare where he's powerless to save people, including MC and characters from Dawnbreaker's world. And he already knows exactly how this nightmare ends. That's why later he tells MC,
I know how this nightmare ends. Wanderers aren't the only threat here. When push comes to shove, leaving me behind might be for the best. If I do something that ends up hurting you, don't go easy on me.
He's seen this nightmare too many times to pretend he doesn't know where it leads. So if the dream we saw in Chancia City is the same nightmare Zayne's been having all along, that tells us something important. He is not actually dreaming about Dawnbreaker Zayne's universe. Because in Dawnbreaker's universe, MC does not exist. There's no MC to save. No one for him to protect in the way we keep seeing in Zayne's nightmares. What I'm trying to say is I don't think these nightmares are actual glimpses of Dawnbreaker's reality. They look similar, the apocalyptic vibes, the chaos, but it's not the same. It's more like a replica designed to torment him. And here's why I think that. Look at what the library boy said to Zayne about his nightmares.
Astra ordained it, and your nightmare is the greatest proof of this.
And then there's the voice that speaks to him in Chancia City.
Seek your destiny. Only then can you be redeemed.
Based on all of those lines, I think it's pretty clear. I think Astra is doing some fuck shit, keeping him trapped in fear and guilt and drown him in it. Like, come on, only then can you be redeemed? That just screams manipulation to me. And if you look at the bigger pattern across all his incarnations, seeking his destiny usually means becoming the right hand of Astra or serving some type of divine force, and also destroying our MC or just watching her die. And yes, these dreams are hinting at the larger cycle. Zayne seeing the fate he and MC are trapped in, hurting her, losing her, lifetime after lifetime, and seeing his world fall into ruin. But I think it's also Astra's way of terrorizing him, keeping him trapped in a nightmare loop, slowly wearing him down up to the point where he loses control. Maybe it has something to do with him being an atheist and also the true owner of the thing that controls everything. I really hope you see the connection I'm trying to make here, because I'm trying really hard. Hey, Editing Angel here. So I had to cut off a whole section of the video here because I just realized something important. So I originally wanted to say that I think the person who was taking over Zayne's body isn't actually Dawnbreaker. At first I thought, oh, this is not Dawnbreaker, because when he first saw MC, he did not recognize her. That did not make any sense because Dawnbreaker is in love with MC. But then after looking at the anecdote again, I noticed something very crucial. It says here that the dreams didn't happen in a particular order, which means this scene in the main story, where he doesn't recognize her, that might actually be the first time Dawnbreaker Zayne ever saw MC, because his crossover into her timeline is non-linear. He's just randomly popping in and out of her world, and if we look at his universe from the anecdote, it's already on the verge of collapse. It's full of people turning into wanderers, or alterums, now that we've got a name for them, and it's implied that this is happening happening in the future, since travel guides mention Lincoln City like it's already old history, so clearly something catastrophic happened. Now, MC does not exist in Dawnbreaker's world, but now that it's been revealed that MC has the Orgo core, the one born from destruction, I've been thinking, even though we don't know how his universe turned out that way, we know that MC is related to destruction, and it's low-key been kind of hinted that she's the reason why Wanderers exist. So yes, MC's not in his world, but maybe she's the reason it fell apart in the first place. We just don't know yet. And also, Dawnbreaker Zayne's universe is still present. He is not dead, and we have no idea what happened after his anecdote ends. So that scene from when they were kids, when he almost killed her.
Your existence is a mistake. You must be eliminated.
If him crossing over did not happen in a particular order, that could have been a version of him after he already learned that MC is the bringer of destruction. But hey, it's just a hypothesis. Honestly, I think what fucked me up was thinking too linearly, like thinking everything happens in a straight line. With this game, that's clearly not how it works. That was a mistake. I got so confused. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that you cannot apply a linear mindset to any of this. Once I saw that line, the dreams didn't happen in a particular order, everything started to click a bit more. But, you know, again, I could be completely wrong. But I do still think that main timeline Zayne isn't actually crossing over to Dawnbreaker's universe. I still think it's Astra just trying to scare the shit out of him. Alright, carry on with the video. But personally, I really think it's Astra's doing, and it's Astra's way of getting him to submit or to seek his destiny. What we do know is that this Dawnbreaker hates carrots, and he can come and go in two ways. One, he can fully take over Zayne to get something done, and it's almost like Zayne lets him take control. Like when he killed the young Alterum. There was no aftermath, there was no meltdown, he's calm, calculated, completely in control. Normal Zayne can come back and be in control again right after the job is done. And then he can also take over Zayne's body when Zayne's emotion gets triggered. Like when he sees black crystals or gets reminded of Mount Eternal, Zayne loses control. And that not Dawnbreaker shows up, but when he shows up when Zayne is triggered, it gets messy. Zayne is not choosing to let him in, he's just being hijacked. That's what I've noticed. And again, this all ties back to his nightmares, and I know I'm repeating myself, but I genuinely think Astra is trying to break him, keep him trapped in a cycle of fear and guilt until he seeks his destiny. And honestly, the thought of Astra messing with Zayne is not even a stretch, because he's done this before. Astra manipulated Zayne's memories in Tower of Secrets and straight up tortured him. So the possibility of Astra messing with Zayne's dreams and his consciousness, that is absolutely believable. Right now though, everything is still super vague. There are so many puzzle pieces we can't place yet. Like whatever that energy exchange was between not Dawnbreaker and MC when they were sleeping, and this biometric key, and whatever the hell this is from Prologue to Tomorrow. And also weirdly, there's no mention of any gods or Astra in Dawnbreaker's universe. Dawnbreaker isn't some oracle or keeper of records like the other Zaynes. His universe just exists and it's in the brink of collapse, and his role is kind of different from the other Zaynes. We still don't know why Astra decides to use elements and people from Dawnbreaker's universe to haunt Zayne's nightmares. But the key to stop Zayne's nightmares and him losing control over his evil lies in him using the Fractal Library. It's been hinted at as well in the game. Now let's talk about potentially the real puppet master behind all this, Astra. The game's been deliberately vague about him, but I think it's pretty clear that Astra is going to play a huge role in future main story updates. We don't know that much about him yet, unfortunately, but here's what we do know about him. He's some sort of god, and his connection to Zayne runs deep, tying him to roles bound to fate and destiny. And while I was rewatching Foreseer Zayne's myth in Chinese, I noticed something really interesting. Creatio Protocore, the power source Foreseer Zayne got from Astra, literally translates to the core of creation. And if we tie this to the last line from chapter 4, where the game straight up mentions a creator who planted foreshadowings before life even existed, based on that, here's where I'm at. I think Astra isn't just a god of fate, he's tied to creation itself. But like not in the he made life sense, more like he wrote the rules that life is supposed to follow. He is setting the script. It would explain why in every one of Zayne's myths, he's tied to keeping records, because the story's already written. He's just the one making sure it stays that way. And MC is a cosmic being in a mortal form. She's a variable, a glitch in the system, and she's messing up the original script because reality bends around her. And this was Astra's first attempt to fix that disruption, to get rid of that variable through Zayne. So, is Astra having some type of cosmic beef with MC? Honestly, maybe. Maybe his whole goal might be to push MC back into her original non-mortal form to correct the timeline and restore the script to how it's supposed to be. Also, can we talk about these lines from the last chapter? Earth's magnificent radiance will eventually fade. Humanity's long undisturbed period of exile will come to an end. These are obviously 100% foreshadowing, and very heavy foreshadowing at that. These lines are hinting at cosmic entropy. In simple terms, over time, everything in the universe moves towards disorder and decay. Stars burn out, planets die, civilizations fall. It's hinting that Earth itself is not an exception, that it's heading for decline, maybe even total ruin, like an apocalypse. But is this happening because MC, the Origo core, is on Earth? We don't know. And exile usually means being cut off from your home or being isolated. In this case, to me, humanity's exile could mean humanity being protected or isolated from bigger cosmic forces for a long time. Like they've been left alone to evolve and grow without interference. And it could hint at humanity being ignorant in a kind of exile from the truth of what the universe really is. The end of exile sounds like humanity will no longer be alone or ignorant. To me, it sounds like they're about to be reintroduced into the larger, more dangerous cosmic stage. Whether that's being exposed to the collapse of Earth's environment, encountering cosmic beings, divine judgment, or just the natural consequences of entropy, whatever it is, it's bad news. This means we're heading towards disaster. And whatever disaster it is we're heading towards, it's something that has been planned before life even existed by a creator. Who is this creator? Is it Astra? Maybe. Honestly, we just don't know who or what is really pulling the strings. Right now, Astra is the biggest suspect, but honestly, we might be dealing with something way bigger or way worse. Guys, if you thought the lore was crazy and mind-bending before, hold on to your hats because gods, cosmic beings, and literal reality-bending powers are fully into play. This is not just about MC or the love interest anymore. It's about the nature of fate, reality, and who gets control over the multiverse itself. Things are about to get seriously wild. So if you're confused and you feel like your brain is doing backflips, don't worry. You're supposed to be confused, because the story is still unfolding, and it will all start to make sense as we get more pieces of the puzzle. And that brings us to the end of this video. This was so... This video took a while for me to make because I had major analysis paralysis with this one. Because when it comes to the OG3, there's just so much to work with since they've been around since launch day. It's a blessing and a curse. More material, but also way more to unpack. I'm sure I probably missed something here and there, but hey, that's what the comment section are for. But just know that I've given it my all. That's all I've got in me. This is all I got, man. Also, I've been getting a lot of comments from new players lately, so I just want to say, if you're new, please don't rush, especially when it comes to the story. The game isn't going anywhere. You're not missing out by taking your time. Even with banners and cards, reruns will happen eventually. You do not have to feel FOMO. The content in this game is not meant to be devoured in 1 week or 2 weeks. There is a lot. Part of the magic is experiencing the universe slowly, going in blind, not knowing what's going on, and watching everything gradually fall into place. Take your time and enjoy the journey, and it's okay if things don't make sense. It will eventually. And again, you are not missing out on anything by taking your time. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Holy shit, this one was so long. Please leave a like if you want, and consider subscribing if you enjoy my content. I will see you in the next one. Bye. But is it him? Is it actually Dawnbreaker? Oh shit. Do any of this make sense? God, my back hurts. I'm an old woman. Oh my god, what am I even trying to say? Holy sh— he faces a tragic